Hello everyone, my name's Luke and we are Team 4 focusing on Case Study 1. Today we'll be discussing the construction management plan for a proposed project to build a car park on campus near the Northern Hockey Field. To present a detailed analysis, I will focus on risk, with Dylan presenting the schedule, Nathan with costing as well as monitoring and control, Dom with monitoring and control as well as WHS and site management, and concluding with Haojun with the handover. Risks can be defined as an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on one or more project objectives, such as scope, schedule, cost, or quality. And in order to appropriately design for these project risks, a risk management plan is essential. To establish an appropriate risk management plan, firstly, the identification of risks within the design, delivery, and handover needs to be performed through the utilisation of a risk register. It is important to note that the risks identified in pre-construction maintain their relevance throughout these design stages and were not disregarded. After the completion of the register, a probability impact matrix is utilised to effectively analyse the risks to develop a strategy in responding. This was achieved through ensuring large impact values were addressed first and monitored through the management plans such as scheduling, costing, WHS measures, and abiding by appropriate legal and quality standards. It is important to continuously update the risk register and matrix as new risks develop and deal with them accordingly to enable the cyclic nature of risk management to be continuous through the project. Dylan will now continue scheduling in more detail. Thank you.
Having addressed some major risks that can influence the project, it is essential to account for these when developing a project schedule. The project proposed by UOW will consist of 4 main phases. The initial front-end phase will heavily consist of the procurement of the design team to develop necessary documents for the design progression, taking approximately 18 days. Following this, the project will enter the planning and development phase, in which it will further develop the technical documents and begin procurement of the personnel for the execution phase, taking approximately 95 days. The execution phase will be an accumulation of the extensive planning and development of the previous 2. Initially, the site will be excavated to a specific reduced level before being graded and compacted to subgrade. A layer of SMZ will then be placed before curbing, asphalting, and detailing will occur. The estimated time period for this is 97 days, whilst the finalisation and handover of the project will take approximately 21. A 20% contingency period has been established based on the site's constraints and the risks Luke has mentioned previously. This 46-day period brings the total to 277. However, various strategies can be used, such as applying for out-of-hours work permits, fast-tracking, and crashing. These may reduce the total time of the project, however, it may have an adverse effect on the costs.
Thanks for that, Dylan. I'm Nathan. I was responsible for the cost estimation of the UOW Hockey Field car park project. Once Dylan had supplied the project schedule and the work breakdown structure, I was able to take these work packages and apply cost estimates using the Quartal 2020 cost guide. This cost guide gives unit rates on materials, labour and activities that were needed to complete the construction phase. As you can see on screen now, these activities include site preliminaries, site clearing and preparation, ground finishing and the installation of pits and pipes. We also needed to account for the management and labour costs, which you can see on screen as well. The total came to about $1.5 million, which was mainly comprised of the materials used for the ground surface finishing and also the management and labour costs. We then applied a 20% profit margin to come to a grand total of $1.86 million. As you can also see in the table, we had a risk allowance of $55,000, which was an estimation of the cost that would be required for scope alterations, material specifications changing, and bad weather conditions that would require more materials to be stored off-site. I'll now hand over to Dom for a work health and safety and environmental site management plan.
Thanks, Nathan. So moving on to site management, we'll begin with the site constraints. The proposed car park limitations mainly concern the access Link Road, as this was the only entry and exit point, meaning any plant must travel via this route. The close proximity of the residential and educational buildings to the site and the existing location of electrical and water services further limit site solutions. Environmental management is maintained through the CEMP, which begins to run through the construction sequence and potential facilities which will affect the local environment. One major aspect of the CEMP is the environmental management system, which is in place to control the major identified threats, including sedimentation, erosion, noise pollution, and vegetation damage. The layout of the implementation plan can be seen on the screen. Stakeholder management for this project involved identifying objectives for stakeholder communication and revising the method selected in the business case to see if it has met these objectives. You can see a sample of the revision plan on the screen now. Stakeholder management will be administered through updating the risk register as construction progresses and analysing the potential outcomes, and control will be done through stakeholder meetings at each milestone. Finally, WHS practice will be in accordance with the appropriate NSW legislation and will be maintained through the use of safe work method statements. Now moving on to monitoring and control. KPIs provide the basis of monitoring and control in this project. For each of the focus groups shown on the screen, a number of KPIs were determined to measure project success. And looking at the screen, you can see a summary of these. For quantifiable focuses like cost and schedule, it's baselines which provide the basis for comparison. In this project, for cost, the bid tender is the cost baseline, and for schedule, the initial Gantt chart provides the initial baseline. Both of these are shown on the screen. To monitor site progress, data collection will be done through subcontractor reporting and weekly site inspections. Using this data, actual versus estimated analysis will be performed using Project Libra to monitor progress. And using this output, the team will look to optimize productivity through seeking potential improvement opportunities, which you can see summarized on the right. Scope control will be based off a scope statement as the baseline. Using requests for information, or RFIs, the scope will be monitored, preempting any necessary changes, and in order to control scope, the project team will perform scenario analysis to ensure staff are prepared to quickly implement change on site. To monitor site progress, data collection will be done through subcontractor reporting and weekly site inspections. Using this data, actual versus estimated analysis will be performed using Project Libra to monitor progress. And using this output, the team will look to optimize productivity through seeking potential improvement opportunities, which you can see summarized on the right. Scope control will be based off a scope statement as the baseline. Using requests for information, or RFIs, the scope will be monitored, preempting any necessary changes, and in order to control scope, the project team will perform scenario analysis to ensure staff are prepared to quickly implement change on site.
To monitor and control the quality of our project, our team decided to use the key performance indicators of construction, material, and environmental quality. To test these, we decided to use inspection and test plans, on-site and off-site testing of materials, and external tests of air and water quality in the surrounding areas. This ensures that the quality of the project will meet legal and physical requirements by Australian standards and the owner of the project. It's also worth mentioning that safety on site will be monitored by the foreperson and site management by conducting site inductions for safety and issuing correct PPE gear. In terms of monitoring and controlling the costs, we'll use the cost baseline as mentioned earlier as our reference point. All the ongoing costs of the construction as they're implemented into the project, as well as costs of mistakes, will be reported, and any deviations from the cost baseline will be investigated. If the earned value or profit for the company is in jeopardy, then they'll be looked into and corrective action will be taken.
The main aim of the handover is make sure the new completed parking area can be handed over to the UOW owner. And we have 3 important steps need to be completed. First is the contract completion, and the second is the commissioning, and third is the optional readiness and the project handover. Of the first, the contract, we should make sure the contract allows 12 months to repair defects after practical completion, because the parking area is very easy to be damaged, so we need time to repair that. And also for the commissioning, we need the manager should write a commissioning plan. The plan should be included, determine the construction to be debugged, and arrange the commissioning process. For the operational readiness and project handover, the project cannot hand over to the owner until the team makes sure the project meets the requirement and the whole system can be worked. Also, for the project handover process, the owner should pay attention to the document handover.